Hello everyone, I am Sumani. Now I am going to explain you the topic of dynamic binding in Java. So now let us get into the topic. So firstly, we will discuss what is dynamic binding in Java. So it refers to the process determining the method implementation at runtime. Here there are many methods that we write in the in Java program. So the implementation of that methods using dynamic binding, it is done it is done by method overriding in Java. So this allows Java programs to call the methods of an object based on the actual type of the object at runtime. It is completely done at runtime. So method calling and method implementation is done by method overriding in Java. Next, coming to the next slide. So polymorphism and dynamic binding are related to each other. In which way? Now let us see. So what is polymorphism? Poly means many. Morphism means in many forms we are executing a single program. So for example, a single action can be implemented in many ways. For example, consider a person. A person can become a teacher and teach. Teaching is the work or a profession that a person can do. And doctor and engineer. So these are the different forms and a single person. So a single person can do many things. It is a simple example for polymorphism. So polymorphism in Java is closely related to dynamic binding. So dynamic binding is implemented to polymorphism. So when a superclass reference variable is used to refer a subclass object. Superclass means parent class and subclass means child class. When here inheritance concept comes into picture, where method overriding also uses inheritance. So dynamic binding ensures that the correct method is called. So what is method overriding? Method overriding means when a method in a subclass has the same name, and same parameters and return type as a method in its superclass. So superclass and subclass has the same method name, same parameters and same return type. Then the method is said to be overridden. So this is called method overriding. So dynamic binding allows flexibility for flexibility in Java. So there is a compatibility in running a program. So by enabling different behaviors based on the actual data type. So here is a flowchart for our types of polymorphism. So it can be done in compile time and runtime. So in compile time, it is furtherly divided into two types: operator overloading and method overloading, and runtime method overriding. In runtime, we call it as dynamic binding. And next example for dynamic binding. As I mentioned before, dynamic binding can be implemented using method overriding. Method overriding can be implemented using inheritance concept. Inheritance concept means method overriding means superclass and subclass has the same method name, same parameters, same return type. So these methods can be implemented by creating a object, and method implementation can be done. If so, consider animal which takes a method called make sound, and another is bird and another is cat. These bird and cat are the subclasses. So make sound is the um, method name, and we don't have parameters to all the methods, and we don't have and the return type can be anything like void int anything, but all the methods has the same return type. So in this method overriding can be done when an object is created for bird. Then bird make sound method will be implemented. When an object is created for cat, then cat method, that is make sound, will be implemented. In this way, method overriding um, is implemented. and the corresponding methods are called. So this process is called dynamic binding. So this dynamic binding allows for code reusability and abstraction in Java programs. Next comes to the benefits of dynamic binding. So as I mentioned before, it gives the flexibility and extensibility in Java programs, and it allows the implementation of polymorphism, and it is a key feature of object-oriented programming. So dynamic binding, it simplifies the code maintenance. So code maintenance is good, and enhance the code readability, which is most important. And it also promotes the abstraction. Here is a code in C++, but I'll explain you in Java. And next is drawbacks of dynamic binding. Yes, if we have advantages, definitely we do have disadvantages. So there is a performance overhead in dynamic binding, whereas in static binding, the speed is high and speed is low in dynamic binding. As we have same method names for superclass and subclass, there will be a slight speed in implementing those methods. So in this way, static binding is speed is high and dynamic binding speed is low. In complex programs, dynamic binding can sometimes makes harder. So if in complex programming, if an error occurs, then in dynamic binding, then tracing and debugging becomes tougher, and improper use of dynamic binding can lead to unexpected behavior, and these are the drawbacks of dynamic binding. And next is conclusion, where we discuss the differences between static binding and dynamic binding. So dynamic binding in Java is a powerful feature. Yes, of course, it makes the code flexible, and it also enables the polymorphism. So it allows method resolution at runtime. Hmm? Runtime, and it enhances the OOPS principle of encapsulation and inheritance. Yes, and here are the dynamic binding, static and dynamic binding differences, where it occurs it happens at compile time and dynamic at runtime. Actual object is not used. Object is used. Where, and also early binding, late binding. Speed is high and speed is slow, as I mentioned before. Now, example is method overloading and method override. So this is the introduction of dynamic binding in Java. And next, let us implement a program for dynamic binding. So here is a program. I have already written a code. So here is the superclass, and it extends, and there is a class that is subclass that extends the superclass. So here we have the print method, and in subclass also we have the print method. No parameters, and same return time. Here we are executing method overriding. So method overriding, same method name, same number of parameters, same number of same return type. So now we are creating object for A, for superclass, and we are creating object for subclass, where object is mandatory for calling of methods. So here is the output. By implementing, here is the output we get. So this is what complete dynamic binding is. And I hope everyone understood this topic. And thank you. If you are having any doubt, please comment. Thank you.